So the topic for the day is designing and managing integrated marketing channels. So we have already seen the other three P's, the product, price and promotion. So now we'll be looking on to the last P in the marketing mix, that is the place, which is actually helping. That is basically where the companies decide about the location, the companies give strategies about the availability of the product. So that is what the place stands for. So the place is generally called as distribution channels in the market. That is in most of the marketing textbooks. So every company, if they want to create a successive value creation, needs a very successful value delivery also. So value chains, the major final aspect is how well the company delivers the product to the customers or how fast the product reaches the customers. So the companies, instead of limiting their focus to their immediate suppliers, distributors and customers, are examining the whole supply chain as a value network. That is, across the chain, how they can induce more and more value and make it better, including the suppliers upstream and the distributors customers downstream. They are also looking at how technology is changing the way customers shop and retailers sell, and finding new and different means to distribute and service their offerings. So that is where they are actually finding out innovations in distribution channels. That is how well they can keep the customer connect. That is very, very important in value. That is in developing a value chain. What is a marketing channel? A marketing channel system is a particular set of interdependent organizations involved in the process of making a product or a service available for use or final consumption. So all the intermediaries that is from the manufacturer to the customer, all those intermediaries actually constitutes a marketing channel. Some of the intermediaries are some intermediaries such as wholesalers and retailers. They buy, take the title and resell the merchandise, and they are called as merchants. That is, wholesalers or that is retailers actually buy the product in bulk, break the bulk, pack it again and give it to the customer. So that is what is you call as holding the title of that particular product or a brand. Others are brokers, which are manufacturers' representatives, sales agents, search for customers and may negotiate on the producer's behalf, but do not take the title to the goods. They are called as agents or distributors. These distributors also might distribute to retailers. So every company will have a set of agents or distributors in a state, or might be in a zone, or sometimes in each and every district. That is, they don't hold the title. They just supply to the wholesalers and to the retailers. There are others, which are the transportation companies, which also forms a part of the intermediary network. Then there are independent warehouses, banks, which actually provide the financing, advertising agencies. All these assist in the distribution process, but neither take the title to the goods nor negotiate the purchase or sales. They are called as facilitators. So the people who are taking the title is only the wholesalers and retailers, and they are called as merchants. The second category of representatives, agents or distributors are called as agents. And the third category of transportation companies, financing agents, advertisements, and other kind of that is warehousing support, all these are called as the facilitators to the distribution channel. But all these constitutes the channel network of a company. The marketing channel decisions are often harder to take than pricing, promotion and product decisions. All those are with the company and they can actually change accordingly also. But the channel decision, once a company takes, it has to take with utmost care, and it cannot be changed as the way they change the product decision or the pricing decision, because there are legal contracts which may limit changes, and developing effective relationship with the channel members often takes longer and costs more. That is, to establish a very good channel member for you is very, very difficult. So once that relationship is established, you cannot simply keep on making changes. So that is where there is a lot of pain in developing a very good channel network. It may also be hard to move retail outlets and wholesale facilities once they are set. This is what Raymond Corey writes in his book. Normally, it takes years to build a distribution channel, and it is not easily changed. It represents a significant corporate commitment to large numbers of independent companies whose business is distribution and to the particular markets they serve. So every product or every brand we buy, actually we don't get it directly from the company, directly to the retailer. It comes through that is through certain kind of channel intermediaries. Might be, just take the example of ITC products. Might be Kerala, they have got 2 or 3 distributors who are supplying in Kerala alone. So only through these distributor network it comes to the wholesalers and retailers. Take another brand of Amul. Amul will be also having certain kind of distributors. So those retail outlets who have got connection or who has taken contract with this distributor can only sell the Amul products. So this is how the channel network works. Channels and marketing decisions. So what the companies do that is to develop marketing decisions for channel. 2 kinds of strategies are being implemented by the companies. One is a push strategy, another one is a pull strategy. A push strategy actually uses a manufacturer's sales force, trade promotion money. That is, manufacturer actually induces a lot of fund and other means to induce the intermediaries to carry, promote and sell the product to the end users. That is, they will actually push the distributors to actually force the product into the market. Whereas a pull strategy, the manufacturer uses advertising, sales promotion and other forms of communication to persuade customers to come to the that is channel intermediaries. First case, in the push strategy, the company induces a lot of money, might be giving a lot of incentives to the dealers and distributors and actually push the product into the market. Whereas in the pull strategy, by using advertisement, sales promotion, all those things, that is, they pull the consumers towards the dealers or retailers or whatever it is. So that is what the pull strategy is, what we see as a year-end sale given by certain brands, or might be certain kind of discount sales or offers and all those things, which actually the company is actually giving to pull the customers to the dealers. That is a pull strategy. So channel member functions. There are a number of channel member functions. In certain cases, a single channel member will be doing all these functions. Sometimes each of these functions are being performed by different kind of channel members, but it all actually forms a part of the integrated marketing channel. A single channel member may perform all these functions in certain situations. However, in most of the situations, channel members at different levels are involved in performing the following functions jointly. So the first channel member function is to create the utility. Marketing channels create time, place and position utility. Time utility refers to making the products available to the customers when they want them. They create place utility by making the products available in locations where the customers decide them to be available for buying. That is time utility. That is timely availability of the product. Place utility, the location. Possession utility means customers having access to obtain and have right to use or store for future use. This may occur through ownership or some arrangements such as rental or lease agreements or arranging some kind of finance. That is, this is what you call it as a possession utility. So all these are the utility function of a channel member. That is, how do they provide these kind of utilities? So that is the first. The second channel member function is channel members facilitate exchange efficiencies. Channel members offer exchange efficiencies and help reduce exchange costs by providing certain functions or services. Channel members may reduce discrepancies and separations. For most customers, producers are located far from them and customers may want different product assortment and quantity of the manufacturers produce. Customers too may not be very clear about their product choices and channel members help to adjust these kind of discrepancies. That is, channel members are able to provide more about the product information to the customers and so on. Assortment discrepancy refers to the difference between the product lines a company produces and the assortment customers want. Company might be having a huge product line, but in each of the market, which kind of the products are fast moving, that is what the channel members have to see and bring those kind of products to that particular market. Then there are certain other functions that is being performed by the channel members. Distribution channels share financial risk by financing the goods moving through the pipeline for various kinds of channel intermediaries, and credit facility to next level operators and consumers, as well as handle personal selling by informing and recommending the product to the consumers, and partly look after physical distribution such as warehousing, transporting, providing merchandising support, that is display support, and furnish marketing intelligence. So these are the various roles of channel members. You can see different kinds of roles: buying role, carrying inventory, selling, transporting, financing, promoting. Promoting means that is marketing communication that is being provided by the channel members, negotiating, market research, and also after sales service. Here you can see, just take an example of that is a channel, how a channel functions or various aspects of a channel functions for forklift trucks. Forklift trucks means those big kind of uh, trucks which is used for that is removing the soil and all those things. So the physical flow happens, the first aspect shows a physical flow of how a truck moves from the company to the customers. Suppliers give what the spare part, that is parts and other things to the through transport warehouses. It comes to the manufacturers market, that is manufacturers, then through transporters and warehouses, dealers, again through transporters and warehouses it comes to the customers. Certain cases there are manufacturers actually directly delivering to the customers also, like JCBs. If a company is manufacturing JCBs, that is in certain cases customers will have to buy from the dealer, but large customers like big corporates, the manufacturer themselves will supply to the customer. So that is what is being shown by this kind of an arrow. Title flow only happens between suppliers, manufacturers, dealers and customers. Payment flow you can see here. This is how the financials, that is customers, banks, like this. Information flow, that is to both sides it have. Promotion flow again from manufacturer to dealers to customers. Directly from the manufacturer to the consumer. That is without any intermediaries, which is directly being from the manufacturer to the consumer. Certain kinds of products are like that. That is, they don't have any kind of intermediaries. Or certain companies have got a combination of all these levels. Okay, they directly distribute, that is from their website you can directly buy, so that becomes a zero level channel. In the first level channel, manufacturer through the retailer to the consumer. In second level, manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer to consumer. Third level, again you can see wholesaler, distributor, retailer to consumer. Just take the example of Titan. Titan watches or Titan products you can buy through their website, so that becomes a zero level channel. Titan through their direct retailers, if you see, that is what you can see, manufacturer to, or might be the company owned outlet, that is a retailer to the consumer. Then Titan watches through wholesalers, that is Titan's own, that is wholesale dealers across various states through other retailers to the consumer. Titan watches through the wholesaler, again through intermediate distributors like this. So Titan will have, might be all these kinds of channels. In industrial marketing channels also you have got again 4 levels of channels. Zero level, manufacturer directly to the industrial customer, like that is what you can say, from the petroleum companies directly supplying to, might be to the air, that is airports, that is from the manufacturer direct to the customer. There is no intermediary there, that is aircraft fuels being directly supplied from the BPCL manufacturing unit to directly to the CL airport, that is a manufacturer to industrial customer directly. Certain cases, manufacturer through industrial distributors to industrial customers. Second level is manufacturer, then manufacturer's representatives might be there through industrial distributors to customers, like that. Manufacturer's own sales branch, like if you take the example of Camco might be directly supplying to industrial customers also through their sales branch, through their distributors to industrial customers also. So this is how an industrial market works. So what has to be taken care while designing a marketing channel system? First one, analyze the customer needs, establish the channel objectives, identify what are the major channel alternatives the company has to take. In every case, company need not have all the kind of channel members. In certain cases, certain companies will directly go in for the zero level channels. So what kind of channel alternatives the company should have, that has to be decided based on your channel objectives. Then evaluate major channel alternatives. Which are all the alternatives you evaluate first. That is, find out which are the best alternatives, then evaluate, and then finally go in for the final choice of channel alternative. So analyzing customer needs and wants. Consumers may choose the channels they prefer based on price, product assortment and convenience, as well as their own shopping goals. So that is one customer need. The channel segmentation exercise, and marketers must be aware that different consumers have different needs during the purchase process. So this is the reason why, based on the consumer needs and most wants, this is the reason why now most of the companies have got their own online, that is on website, on the website we can buy, or they have partnership through Amazon or Flipkart or any other kind of e-commerce site and they sell their products. This is basically based on the customer needs and wants. Even the same consumer though may choose different channels for different reasons. Sometimes a customer might go to a retail outlet and buy. Sometimes due to convenient factors or might be due to the price factors, a customer might opt for a e-commerce site. If you take the example of buying a book, you can directly go to retail outlet and buy, or sometimes you might directly buy from Amazon. So this is where the brand should have presence across everywhere based on the customer. Establishing the channel objectives. Channel objectives vary with the product characteristics. Bulky products such as building materials require channels that minimize the shipping distance and the amount of handling. Building materials and all those things, the channel objective will be different. Non-standard products such as custom built machinery are sold directly by the sales representatives. I was talking about JCBs, or might be transformers, product like transformers. All these are actually being sold by the sales representatives of those particular manufacturer itself. Products requiring installation or maintenance service such as air conditioners, room heaters, all those things are usually sold and maintained by the company or by companies' franchised dealers. You have to, that is, if you contact the company will give you the contact details of the franchise dealer to whom you can contact, because they will come and do the installation also. High unit value products such as generators and turbines are often sold through a company sales force only. Like Telc will have its own sales force, Camco will have its own sales force, or might be big manufacturing companies like ABB who manufacture that is electrical goods. They all will have their own sales force who will be going and meeting the customer and selling the product directly to, or making a sales contract with the customer and then delivering the product at the customer's site. Marketers must adapt their channel objectives to the larger types of intermediaries. Already have seen, that is various levels of channels. Now we have to see number of intermediaries, that is basically what kind of distribution channel the company will have. Whether the company should go in for exclusive distribution, whether the company should go in for selective distribution, or whether the company should go in for intensive distribution. So let's see, that is, what are these three kinds of strategies. Three strategies based on the number of intermediaries are exclusive distribution, selective distribution, and intensive distribution. This is based on the number of intermediaries the company uses. If it is an exclusive distribution, the number of intermediaries will be less. Exclusive distribution means severely limiting the number of intermediaries. It's appropriate when the producer wants to maintain control over the service level and the outputs offered by the resellers, and it often includes exclusive dealing arrangements. By granting exclusive distribution, the producer hopes to obtain more dedicated and knowledgeable selling. In selective distribution relies on some of the intermediaries willing to carry a particular product only. Intensive distribution places the goods or service in as many outlets as possible. This strategy actually works for all the FMCG goods, especially snacks, soft drinks, newspapers, candies, chewing gums, product consumers buy frequently or in a variety of locations. So which kind of a strategy Coca-Cola might be doing? They might be going in for the intensive distribution strategy. Whereas certain kind of products will have selective distribution because they only rely on certain kind of intermediaries willing to carry a particular product. Like if we take the example of Samsonite. Samsonite is manufacturing travel bags and travel accessories. They have got two kinds of intermediate, that is number of intermediaries they use. One is their own exclusive outlets, as well as they have got selective distribution. They don't have any kind of intensive distribution. Terms and responsibilities of channel members. The first responsibility of the channel members is to establish the price policy, which calls for the producer to establish a price list and schedule discounts and allowance that intermediaries see as equitable and sufficient. Then they have conditions for sale, that is refers to the payment terms and producer guarantees and all those things. Distributors' territorial rights define the distributors' territories and terms under which the producer will and franchise other distributors. That is, this territory, they'll have this kind of franchisee and all those things. Then mutual services and responsibilities must be carefully spelled out, especially in franchised and exclusive agency channels. McDonald's provide franchisees with a building, promotional support, a record-keeping system, training and general administrative and technical assistance. In turn, franchisees are expected to satisfy company standards for the physical facilities they offer, cooperate with new promotional programs, furnish requested information, and buy supplies from specified vendors, as well as pay monthly franchisee fees. So these are the terms and responsibilities of channel. Now you can see the various value and cost factors based on various kinds of channel intermediaries. On the y-axis you can see value add for sales. On the x-axis you can see cost per transaction. Cost per transaction, value add of sales. So these kind of channel intermediaries, internet is a direct channel, telemarketing is again a direct marketing channel, and also sometimes directly through the company retail stores. So this is where the cost of transaction is low. Internet has got the lowest cost per transaction, but also less value add for sale. But here you can see exclusive distributors, value-added partners. These are indirect channels which actually comes in between the company and the customer. Then you can see the sales force of the company. This is also again a direct sales channel which have got direct interaction with the customer. Just take the example of Eureka Forbes. They have their own sales force interacting with the customers. So this is where the value addition is very high because they'll be able to convince the customers regarding the product, clear the doubts of the customers. Okay, and customers in certain cases customize a product for the customer. So that will happen with this kind of personal sales force, but it is very costly for the company. So this is where depending upon the product, this is how the company will choose which kind of marketing channel it will have to have based on the value add as also based on the cost per transaction. Certain cases company will have this and this. Certain cases it will have only internet and retail stores and distributors alone. So it will be always a mix of these. Channel management decisions. How do companies select channel members? How do companies train the channel members, motivate the channel members, evaluate the channel members, and modify the channel members? After a company has chosen a channel system, it must select, train, motivate, and evaluate channel individual intermediaries for each channel. It must also modify channel design and arrangements over time. As the company grows, it can also consider channel expansion into international markets also. There are certain power factors established by the channel intermediaries. These are the various kinds of channel power: coercive power, reward power, legitimate power, expert power, and referent power. So now we'll see what are these kinds. So what is a channel power? Channel power is the ability to alter channel members' behavior so that they take action they would not have taken otherwise. Manufacturers can draw on the following types of power to elicit cooperation with the channel members. First one is coercive power, means that the manufacturer threatens to withdraw resource or terminate a relationship with the intermediaries if the intermediary failed to cooperate. So that is exerting the power. Reward power includes when the manufacturer offers intermediaries an extra benefit or some kind of trade allowances are being offered for performing certain kind of functions. That is, who achieve these kind of targets, this is being given. So that is what we call it as a reward power. Again, motivating the intermediaries. Then there is legitimate power includes a manufacturer requesting a behavior that is based on the contract. You have to be like this. You have to provide these kind of facilities. So that is a legitimate power. Expert power means a manufacturer has special knowledge the intermediaries value. Once the intermediaries acquire this expertise, however, expert power actually weakens. In certain cases, manufacturer force will be actually giving the service. Intermediaries will not have the service facilities. So that is where an expert power is there. But once the intermediary also actually expertise in that after sales service, might be this expert power will not stand again. Referent power means a manufacturer is so highly respected that intermediaries are proud to be associated with it. Certain kind of brands, intermediaries will be very happily associating with that particular kind of brand. That is, they will be proudly saying that we are the exclusive dealers of this particular brand. That is 3M has got those kind of distributors who actually would love to say that they are the intermediaries for 3M because that company has got that kind of a global branding. The next factor that comes in channel management is the conflict between the channel members. We have seen there are various kinds of channel members in a marketing channel. So there can be conflict between these kind of channel members also. So what types of conflict arise in channels? What are the causes for this conflict and how do companies or marketers resolve these conflicts? No matter how well channels are designed and managed, there will be some conflict if only because interests of independent business entities do not always coincide. Channel conflict is generated when one channel member's action prevents another channel member from achieving its goal. Channel coordination occurs when channel members are brought together to advance the goals of the channel as opposed to their own potentially incompatible goals. Horizontal channel conflict occurs between channel members at the same level. That means there might be wholesalers and distributors. There can be conflict between the wholesalers and the distributors. Or there can be two or three distributors, again conflict between them. Vertical channel conflict occurs between different levels, that is between a retailer and a distributor, okay, or between a retailer and a wholesaler. So these are the vertical channel conflicts. So multi-channel conflict exists when the manufacturer has established two or more channels that sell to the same market. It is likely to be especially intense when the members of one channel get a lower price based on large volume purchases or work with lower margin. Causes of channel conflict. The first cause is incompatibility of the goal between the channel members. Then unclear roles and rights of channel members, difference in perception of channel members, intermediaries' dependence on the manufacturer. Now, how do companies resolve or manage this channel conflict? Strategies to manage channel conflict. The first one is superordinate goals. Channel members can come to an agreement on the fundamental or superordinate goal they are jointly seeking, whether it is for survival, whether it is to establish the market share, whether high quality or customer satisfaction. They usually do this best when channel faces an outside threat such as more efficient competing channel, an adverse piece of legislation, or a shift in consumer desires. So setting superordinate goals is one way to resolve channel conflict. That is, all of them have to jointly come to an agreement regarding what is their objective. The second one is employee exchange. A useful step is to exchange persons between two or more channel levels. Swap the employees between the distributor and the retailer and all those things. This only happens for certain kind of products. Then joint memberships. Similarly, marketers can encourage joint membership in trade associations. All are part of a particular trade association. So again, that can reduce. Then the other method to reduce channel conflict is co-optation. Co-optation is an effort by one organization to win the support of the leaders of another by including them in advisory councils, boards of directors and the like. If the organization treats invited leaders seriously and listens to their opinions, co-optation can reduce conflict, but the initiator may lead to compromise its policies and plans with win outsiders support. Then there is diplomacy. Diplomacy takes place when each side sends a person or group to meet with its counterpart to resolve the conflict. That is talking and resolving the conflict. Mediation relies on neutral third parties skilled in conciliating the two parties' interests. And also there is arbitration. Two parties agree to present their arguments to one or more arbitrators and accept their decisions. So this is a particular thing which can come in your question paper also. What is channel conflict? What causes channel conflict? And how do companies resolve the channel conflict? So with this actually I end up the fourth module. That is, we have fourth module was basically focusing on the 4 P's of the marketing mix, that is product, price, promotion and place. In this place, that is a final P, we also have got retailers, the functions of retailers and wholesalers, which I have developed a trading material and I will be putting it up in the link base. So please read through that. This is for examination point of view also. This is very, very important. So thank you.